Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of Developing Classical Thinkers. My name is Winston Brady, and I'm the Director of Curriculum at Thales Academy. This podcast is a project of the faculty at Thales. We're a network of private classical schools with campuses based mostly in Raleigh, North Carolina. But we also have campuses outside of Richmond, Virginia, Nashville, Tennessee, and Charlotte, North Carolina, with more coming on board each year. On today's episode, I'm joined by a longtime friend and colleague, Persephone Hohls, who teaches art at our Thales Academy Apex Junior High School campus. And she's here to show me how to draw and how to shade. I'm so excited and so thankful that you're joining us here today on the program, Persephone.
Thank you for having me, Winston.
Persephone, could you just walk through your background, like how long you've been teaching art, grade levels that you teach, skills? The artwork in her room is astoundingly beautiful. So I'm really excited that I'm going to get some expert tutelage from you today.
Thank you very much. I've been with Thales Academy in Apex for over 12 years. I started in the elementary building where we were teaching kindergarten through 12th grade till we moved into our old building. My background is I studied business in South Africa, in Cape Town. I went to school in Cape Town. What else can I tell you about myself? I love teaching art. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of students who absolutely are passionate about the subject, as well as students who are very willing to learn. So it makes my job much easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And today I'm going to be one of your students. You're showing me how to draw and how to shade.
Yes.
And the inspiration for this episode came from really scientific illustration. I've been designing a lot of curriculum for a science program, and it struck me that a lot of the great scientists were also great illustrators, and they poured not only like the fruits of their scientific investigation into their work, but they were really, really good artists. And so the drawings that they were able to put down on paper ended up in their books, and it made it a lot easier for people to understand their ideas. The preeminent example is really Galileo in The Starry Messenger. He's got these beautiful illustrations of the moon that came about through just untold hours, looking through his telescope at the various phases of the moon, the surface of the moon, and whatnot. And so you were going to help me, really learn how to kind of draw like that. I don't think you can get me to Galileo's level, but I'm really looking forward to learning how to shade, what is shading, and so on. So what are the things that I need to know in order to start shading and drawing?
The most important thing is, first, let's go back in time. So 30,000 years ago was when the first pictorial came out, or pictogram, of a drawing, a medical drawing. So that was found in a cave, a prehistoric cave.
Is that this right here?
Yes, let's show this. And it was a picture of a mammoth with a leaf-like kind of shape of a heart. And this was to show people, especially the prehistoric communities in those days were hunters. So they needed to know where the heart was of the animal so that they could kill it instead of wounding it on the rest of their body. So they found this picture, and this was like a teaching tool for other people from the community to learn hunting. And at the same time, how did people put things, illustrations for medical purposes? It was done by the Chinese, the Babylonians, the ancient Greeks. They used ceramics, they used stone. That's where they drew most of their illustrations of, limbs or hearts or any other part of the body. So that's where this all started. Shading and drawing is very fundamental to any art person's program. So understanding how to draw is important because you have to be observant. And just like Galileo, through his telescope, he was observing the moon. What we tend to do is, if we're going to go out into nature, we're going to observe trees, we're going to observe the clouds, we're going to observe the horizon line of where the earth meets the sky. So there's lots of observation happening all the time. When it comes to the shading, you've got to be a bit more accurate. So you're trying to determine where's my light source coming from, because lights and shadows are really important in your drawing. You want something, whether it's in a scientific module or in just a beautiful fine art, you want to make it look as realistic as possible.
And I love the attention to observation. That's really one of the preeminent skills in the scientific process and in our science classes that we're trying to teach to students, like the art of paying very close attention to really fine details, the likes of which most people miss. But if you're drawing it and trying to bring it out on paper, then you're paying much closer attention to those sorts of fine details that other people tend to look over.
Yes.
What about some of the tools that you brought today for our demonstration?
Yes. So what we have we're starting in 6th grade through 12th grade, we make sure that each child is armed with the right tools. So we ask for pencil kits and paint brushes. So for your pencil kits, you need to have a variety of pencils. So we have like your HB pencil, we have 2H pencil, we have a 2B pencil, anything that's numbered from like a 2 to a 8 pencil. And we teach them that each pencil has a job to do. So for example, what is an HB pencil? What is a 2B pencil? What is a 2H pencil? And when we talk about H and B in pencils, we are talking about H for hard and B for the blackness of the graphite.
So H for hard, B for black. And then 2 through 12, is that the hardness of the pencil?
If it's on H.
Okay.
And if it's B, it's the blackness, but the B pencils are much softer. That is very good for your shading.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can shade with a 2B pencil, which is like your standard, those number 2 pencils that all students have for school. That's the same thing. We also use a blending tool. And this is made out of paper, and we use it so that we can smooth out our shading. And then we can go in with our kneading eraser, and we can pick up graphite to make lighter areas or any lines that we want to add in as a highlight. And then we also have our tool to clean our blending tools, which is just pure sandpaper. So you don't need a fancy tool like this. Because this is made out of paper, you don't unravel it, you just clean it up with the sandpaper.
Okay.
So these are very cool tools. This is a brush that we use once we've added some of our, say, 2B or any blending kind of pencil, which is black. We may have a lot of lead on our paper. So we want to brush away some of the blackness. And that's what we do. We want a clean surface. Then we also have what we use in the art room, which is very cost effective for students, that they don't have to go and buy other materials. We use a tissue and we put it over our first finger, and that's what we use to shade larger areas. So it's a good way, nice cheap method.
And this is just regular supplies that we've got in the art room.
Yes.
This isn't a kit that students are carrying around, is it?
Well,
can they get their own?
They do buy their own because they like to have their materials with them. So they have their own stuff, which is good. And if they don't have it that day, or if they don't have supplies, we have supplies at school.
So imagine I know almost nothing about drawing, illustrating, shading, and the like. If you wanted me to start drawing this particular picture right here, so this is, I believe this is the Apex campus, isn't it?
I think it might be, I'm not sure. It was a picture that we had.
Oh no, looking at it, it's either Clayton, Pittsboro, or Holly Springs. But we've got a beautiful blue sky with some cumulus clouds hanging overhead. And Persephone, this is really, really bold, but you're gonna show me how to draw the clouds above this Thales Academy campus.
Yes.
I don't know if I can do it.
Yes, you can.
So, are you sure?
Very simple. Yes, of course you can.
And I see this drawing that you brought. Like, this is gorgeous. No. I can't believe that you did this.
It's a 5-minute drawing, just of what we observed on the picture there. So that's very quick.
So should I draw on this page here?
Yes. Okay. This is what we're going to work with. And the kind of paper that we use, I think a lot of people go wrong. You know, students who haven't taken an art class, is they draw on computer paper. And drawing on computer paper is very hard to shade.
Okay.
So the shading doesn't turn out as well as maybe using proper drawing paper. And we use this type of paper at school, which is really cool, good make. And so for anything that we need to show you, I can show you here and on there.
And is this just matte paper?
Matte?
Matte paper?
Yes,
just,
matte paper, yeah. but it's very smooth in texture compared to a piece of, and it's a little thicker than just regular computer paper. All right, so when you want to start with clouds, the most important thing is to start with, say, like an HB pencil, remember, hard and black, and then just to basically observe and look at your picture and look at your clouds. So you will lightly draw the shapes that you see of your clouds. So I will go ahead and just quickly, just very lightly give you some outlines of your clouds. And we would like to focus on maybe trying to create more realistic clouds than the typical clouds that we were used to drawing, right? Cartoonish kind of clouds in elementary school.
It looks like the hand of a cartoon character.
Yes. So we're trying to avoid that. And 6th through 12th grade, we try and start drawing more realistically. Now, when I look at that picture, what I can see is a whole lot of different lovely fluffy clouds. Now, when we were growing up, we knew that the sky was blue and the grass was green. Now, we learned about reflection and refraction, that the light is causing those colors to be much bolder. As you can see at the top of the sky, it's much bluer. As it's reaching the horizon line, it's becoming less blue, so it's lighter in color. Okay, so I have very lightly drawn some clouds for us. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go and shade the dark blue getting lighter around the clouds. So now we're going to go and we're just going to take one of our, we'll just go with this one just for screening purposes. Okay, so pressure of the pencil, really important. The harder you press, the darker your shading will become. The less pressure, more medium, and then the lighter pressure, the lighter your shading. So that's good for kids to understand about value. The darker you press, the darker your value. And then you can have little blocks of how it becomes lighter and lighter, in your gradient changes. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to press a little harder. Very important is to also hold your pencil.
How should I hold the pencil? Can I grab one?
Of course. We are restricted hand motion when we are holding our pencil as though we are going to write.
So there's a different way to hold a shading pencil.
There is. We would like to do like an overhand. So we are holding further back. You now have more movement in your wrist, which allows you to cover a wider range and to place more pressure on your pencil. So now I can do that. Okay, and I'm using the side of my pencil so I can cover a lot more area. So you can try that. Okay, so use the side of your pencil.
Side of my pencil. And rule number 1, just consider how much pressure I'm putting down.
Correct. That's really important. So we can see from our observation on our reference photo that the sky is much darker at the top, and as it's approaching the building or the horizon line, it's getting lighter. Okay?
So I want to put less pressure down.
That's it. Your pressure will get lighter and lighter as you approach the horizon line.
So just sheer mechanics of shading, just consider how much pressure you're putting down, because that translates to color gradients.
Exactly.
And what kind of shading am I doing right now? Because there's different types of shading.
Yes, so this is just what you're trying to get from this is actually a smooth sky kind of shading. Now there are the different types. You have cross-hatching.
Cross-hatching.
Yes. You have hatching.
Hatching.
You have scumbling.
Scumbling.
Yes, which is like you're scribbling.
Okay, how does that look?
Scumbling looks like this. So you're going to go in a circular motion.
Would that be good for clouds?
You can actually create clouds in that way. You can have a sky using hatching. So you could have just a whole lot of lines close together, because hatching is lines that are close together, more in like a parallel. They're of different lengths, varying lengths. Okay, and then your cross-hatching is when you have an intersection. So when they intersect each other, they overlap each other, that is your cross-hatching.
So hatching, we've got horizontal lines, or could they be vertical? Or vertical?
Yes.
But cross-hatching, we're creating like windows.
Yes, they're intersecting.
Like the screen on a window.
Yes. So we are intersecting or overlapping. Okay, and then we also have the tiny little dots, so that's your stippling.
Okay, stippling.
Yeah.
Stippling, and that's tiny little dots.
Tiny little dots. So the further away from each other that the dots are,
the lighter
the shading.
Okay. Further away the dots are, I'm trying to remember this, but the further away the dots are, the lighter the shading.
Correct. And then the closer that they are, the darker they become.
When would you want to do that? Like, what would, I imagine for the sky here, hatching would be best.
It would
and
be.
And then maybe darker at the top for cross-hatching?
You could have cross-hatching, or you could just do the whole sky only in just hatching.
Okay.
Yeah. For trees, you could use cross-hatching.
Okay.
Where there's, all the bushes, you could use that with cross-hatching. You could use that for scumbling, which is great, because imagine as an en plein air, the Impressionists, when they sat outside and drew their pictures or were painting, they didn't have time to do each and every single one of those leaves. So they had to sort of create the illusion of many leaves. So you could do that with your scumbling, which is cool.
I think this is such a wonderful thing to teach students in science, because we're showing the beauty of the scientific process and a real practical skill. And kids love to draw anyway.
Exactly.
A lot of times kids, they just have to start like scribbling on the doodle, the side of their notebook. And it'd be so wonderful if they could produce a little sketch like this, right? Because they have to pay such close attention to the clouds here.
And then the trees behind behind the school, which is also a scumbling kind of technique.
Is that what you use there?
Yes.
Okay. And those do look really accurate as far as the, and especially, you said you only did this in 5 minutes. It would take me hours to do something like that.
And then, so scumbling can be used for bushes. You can use it for trees. And as Galileo, also he used more of a circular kind of motion when he was doing the scientific drawings of the moon, because he couldn't do all the craters, in complete perfection. So he would have the depth with the shading to create the kind of circular kind of drawings that he created. And then, can you notice now that you know a little bit more about shading, can you see the darker side of the moon, how dark it is?
Yeah, and you can see the lines of termination.
Yes.
It's one of the coolest scientific vocabulary words. So the line at which the visible side of the moon, the dark side, like the side of the moon that's not visible, like in the night sky, the line of termination. But you can see that so clearly in Galileo's drawing.
Yes.
What should we try to draw next?
Well, what we do when we teach children, we tell them, because some of them feel quite intimidated by having to draw. Oh, I can't draw. That's almost immediately the thing that they say is, I can't draw. And everybody needs to realize that things are broken down into shapes. And that's why we need math.
Okay.
We need math, we need science, and we need art together, because they all work together. So with math, for example, we teach them about different shapes, such as a trapezoid. We talk about spheres, we talk about cylinders, we talk about foreshortening. So all those are very, very important. So how about you learn how to draw a table?
Okay. I would love to draw a table.
Would you like to draw a table? Okay, very simple.
In philosophy class, when a teacher explains Plato, they always use the form of a table.
Oh, they do?
Or a chair. Like, what is the ideal and perfect table or chair?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. All right. So we try and keep it basic so that everybody is successful by the end of the class period, that they feel good and energized and want to come back the next day and want to learn more. That's what's really important. So when we are looking at a table, if we were floating on top and we have a square table, if we are floating on top, we will see a square table. But if we are sitting here looking at a square table, what kind of shape do you think we're going to see? We are here and we're looking at a square table. Square table is going further back. We're going to have the shape of a trapezoid.
Okay.
So then I asked the kids, okay, if I draw this shape, what is that? And most of the time, my good mathematicians will give me whatever the shape is, and which at this point is the trapezoid. Okay.
I'm going to follow along with what you're doing.
Yeah. So what we want to do here is explain to the kids that it's important for you to understand depth. So the table is receding, it's changing shape.
Okay.
All right, next thing we want to do is we want to put some legs on our table. So we'll have long cylindrical kind of shapes. So we're going to start off with, I'm not drawing very straight. So we're going to have two long rectangular kind of legs, and we're going to sort of curve them at the bottom, which is great. And we'll make sure we have some on the other side. Okay, they should be the same size. And most importantly in art is to understand vocabulary, terminology. We're going to be talking about an implied line.
Okay. What's an implied line? Implied line.
Implied line. So we know that a table doesn't only have two legs. It has four legs. So how are we going to go and draw the other two legs? So the implied line is saying, we know that over here, coming out here, is where we're going to have the next leg. It will be shorter because, you know, it's from a different eye view, because it's further back than the front legs. Okay? And this is the implied line. So terminology again, implied line, very important for students to know. We know that this leg starts over here, but we can't see it. But the line continues. That's what your implied line is. And we'll do the same on the other side. So like that, curved at the bottom. We have four legs on our table. We can erase our implied lines. We don't need to see those. Okay, now we have a table.
Okay.
Right, what should we put on our table? Should we put some plates?
Flowers?
We can put a vase of flowers. We can do that. Right, so let's put a cylindrical shaped vase, for example. So we will draw two vertical lines, curved at the bottom. Now, one thing I do teach children, the very first thing I teach them is, let's practice some shapes. So let's practice hovering over our page, and let's draw circles, let's draw ovals. So we do that. Yeah, so we do that. So we go, we practice on top, and then we hit the page. Okay. Okay, and this is what they draw. They do that for a whole page. We draw circles, and then we draw squares. And the important thing about drawing squares is make sure you don't do a continuous line of squares to join to make a square. Draw a vertical line. Lift your pencil off the page. Draw your horizontal line, lift your pencil off, etc., till you make your square. Then you'll get a good square. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to make an oval or an ellipse shape, which is another name for oval, for the top of our vase. Okay. Right. So now in the middle here, unless it's a glass vase, we're not going to see the back part of the table. So we can erase that. We erase our line. There we go. And now we can go in and we are going to have some fun with this. We're going to add some stems to our vase where we're going to have some flowers. Again, we're not going to draw perfect flowers, so we're going to use a form of hatching. We're going to use some scumbling to create these squiggly kind of flowers. No idea what these flowers are, but it doesn't matter. We're just creating some flowers.
A really skilled artist could erase this and add more detail later on.
Yes. This is just an example. You can do some lovely flowers, you know, doesn't matter. Leaves, whatever you want. You have flowers on your table, in a vase.
Is this the correct method of scumbling? Just little circles over and over and over again?
Yes.
How does that scumbling
Those look great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like a pattern.
Okay.
Okay, one of your elements of art that you need. Those are beautiful flowers.
Well, thank you.
Very Van Gogh-ish. Okay. Now, let's put some plates, because if we draw a plate, again, we're going to have circular right in front of us, but it'll change shape. It'll be more of a diagonal over here because of the view. Same thing over here. And then as it goes towards the back, doesn't it get smaller in size when we are viewing it? Now, we're not going to be able to see the whole plate because the vase is in the middle, so we'll see parts of it.
Okay.
Okay. And this is where we also talk about concentric circles or concentric shapes, because a plate has a rim. So concentric, meaning a pattern that follows, or parallel pattern, okay? So now concentric circle repeating itself, that becomes a target.
Okay.
Right? Oval, we can do the same, and with our plate we're going to do that so that we can get a rim. So let's go and put a rim on our plates. Okay, just to make them look more pretty. So we'll do that.
Do you have any tips for adding in perspective like that? Like, where's the line? Looks like the table is going, like the lines are, you know, ending somewhere about right here. How should we look at perspective like that?
Okay, so this is the basis of forming of perspective, trying to understand it. So we're in a room. Now what we're going to do here is we are actually going to put a rug to sort of bring it together, okay? So to bring our rug, we can just go, because this is our back wall, for example. Again, the shape, it could be a circular rug, but we'll just go with another trapezoid. This is going to go off the page. And let's just, or we could take this further down. There's our lovely rug under our table. Our rug could have patterns on it. You could have some parallel kind of patterns.
Geometric.
Could have geometric. You could have, just remember the patterns will sort of start changing direction once they go to the other side. So we can create a beautiful little rug. Okay. What a beautiful drawing. Yeah. You could add your little tassels or fringes to your carpet or rug all the way around. So perspectively, we can see this. We can then draw walls at the back. We could go into a lot of detail on perspective. That's a whole different lesson. But what you have created in just a few minutes, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, is a really good drawing.
Oh, I don't think I ever could have done this without your help.
Well done.
Yeah.
I really like that. Okay, so the important thing is kids need to understand, and then once they are successful at having created just a basic drawing, because they understand shapes, they've done that in math, they've learned that. Now they're putting it together in a drawing, because if you had to give them some fancy word in art that they've never heard on, they can't comprehend it. But now you're breaking down vocabulary that they are aware of, makes them understand and create a drawing. So students who are very strong in math are really good at perspective drawings. They can see depth, and we can start to shade and create, our drawing to look different, where you start to make the darker areas of where the sun is not getting to the building, for example, your highlights, all kinds of things with your shading and drawing, which is really important.
Yeah, I love the cross connections between, say, math and science and art. You know, thinking of individuals like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. These individuals were just mathematical geniuses. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci built all sorts of weapons for the Sforzas. Michelangelo designed St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, just like astoundingly beautiful architectural masterpieces, in addition to their ability to draw and to paint, and in Michelangelo's case, to sculpt. So where do we go from here? Yeah.
So a lot of the artists used a lot of the elements in art. For example, like Van Gogh, he used a lot of lines that were close together and they didn't blend. So you can see line that was used in elements of art is used in his paintings. Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci, with the depth through shadows and shading to create a very realistic human, whether it's the portrait or the whole body. So that's really important for students to understand. Now, just to get back to your clouds, we did a history of art lesson on one of the famous artists, a British artist, John Constable, who's in our
the Hayway.
The Hayway.
Yes.
So when I was talking to the kids, okay, right, what do you see? What can you tell me about this painting without giving away any of the details? The first thing they noticed was the clouds.
Yeah.
It's very stormy, right? What makes it stormy?
And it's the
clouds because of the darkness. And that shading is not only in just pencil. You can use it with your paints. So the darker, you would use a darker gray. Your highlights would be much lighter, using white or maybe using a little bit of a hint of yellow. So they were so taken with this painting. Some of them said to me, this is the best painting they've ever seen. And I think it was how turbulent the clouds were. So they thoroughly enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. So it's important to understand that it's not just a shading technique using the medium pencil. Mm-hmm. You can use it using paints, pastels, all kinds of mediums. Mm-hmm.
Do you think we could go back to the clouds and maybe we could draw, you can help me draw this cloud here in the middle?
Sure.
I know these are cumulus clouds, so these are heaps of clouds. They look almost like balls of cotton. But how can I draw something like this? Like that seems so technically proficient.
Yes.
So
now what you're going to do is you're going to go into the cloud, and we're going to use a 2B pencil. What pencil is this?
I have an HB.
Okay, so we're going to use a 2B pencil, and what did we say B stands for?
Oh, B is for black.
Correct.
And H is for hard.
Correct.
And so 2 through 12 is the hardness, but does that exist for the blackness of the pencil as well? Okay, so it does the hardness and the blackness of the pencil.
Correct. So now we're using a 2B, so that's not as dark as a 12B. So you're going to go in, again, using hand over pencil. Mm-hmm. So I want you to go in very lightly to start shading, okay, parts of your cloud.
And what's the formal technique that you're referencing here? I mean, this is just blending.
That's just a straight left to right kind of blend shading that I'm doing. That's just to get some of the color into the cloud, just to get a value in there.
And I'm trying to go light. It's a little harder for me.
And that's okay. Yeah. Now what you're going to do is you're going to use your blending tool.
Okay.
Because you want to smooth it out. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how dark it is, because we can use our kneading eraser and we can go and pick up some of the graphite and make it look more realistic. So this one you can use. That's a little cleaner than this one, or this one's much cleaner. You will see when you use a lot of these blending tools, you pick up a lot of graphite.
It's going to pick up the graphite.
And sometimes this can be helpful because you can continue to shade without having to really shade.
And that looks really good there.
Yeah. So you go ahead and start to smooth that out by doing, and you can go in circular motions to get more of a realistic fluffiness of your cloud. Because the cloud doesn't have any hard edges. Mm-hmm. So you would like to go into that, and then as you're going on the outside to make the cloud fluffier.
And it's funny too, because I put too much pressure down at the bottom of the cloud, so it looks a little bit more like a nimbostratus cloud. It looks more like a rain cloud.
Well,
right? Heavy thunderhead.
Quite right. Without even knowing, you intentionally did that. But that's good because that's the base of the cloud. Mm-hmm. So that was very good that you made it darker. All right, now use your kneading eraser. What you're going to do now is you're going to go in and you're going to start to pick up some of the color. Because what you can see is there are some light and then some medium.
There's
and
some
then
nice wisps of clouds, which are cirrus clouds.
Yes.
I just want the kids to pay attention to the clouds. This has made me so happy, like taking walks with my boys and pointing out, like that's a stratus cloud. That's a layer of clouds in the air. That's nice. The more you know, the happier you are.
Of course. Yeah. And being out in nature is great. Mm-hmm. All right, so when I said to you that we could use this brush, what you would have done is you could have taken a tissue, all right, put it on your finger for the first part, and you could have smoothed out the main, the bigger area. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see it. It's smoothing out.
Yeah, and you could have gone up towards your clouds, okay? And you could continue all the way around. See? So you want softer to go as you're approaching the cloud, and there are no hard lines around the cloud.
That's a good rule. It's funny too, it almost looks like a relief carving because you're shading around where the cloud is. So the area where the cloud is, there's no shading.
Perfect. You're very smart.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So then if I'd done the whole page and I had this paper, then I would use this brush to just brush away any of the excess left.
Graphite.
And the reason why we also use, well, number one is it helps us with larger areas, but number two, your fingers get a little oily. So you don't want any oil to transfer onto your paper.
Okay.
So that's another reason. Okay, so now you've got that. Now you want to pick up with your lovely kneading eraser, and you are going to go and pick up, and you can erase, okay? So you can go and pick up, can you see how we're picking up some of the graphite from the cloud? And you can keep changing the shape of this cloud.
Right.
At the same
By
time,
removing the graphite. Maybe we don't want it to be a thunderhead anymore. Maybe we want it to be a nice, happier, fluffier cloud.
Yeah.
A little happy cloud.
and you, like Bob Ross always said,
That's right.
happy little accidents.
That's right.
Okay, now this area that you have created, do you know that you can actually go and create another cloud in there?
I didn't.
Yeah.
How can we do that?
Well, you're going to take your kneading eraser, okay, and you're going to go in there and you're going to start to erase and create a fluffy little cloud. Just takes a while, but it can be done. Because sometimes you have areas that you've created, your sky, but now you don't have enough clouds. So you just take your kneading eraser or a regular eraser and you use the corner of it and you can go and start to create shapes of your clouds. And you can create a cloud.
And in this way, we're removing, it is more like a relief carving like that.
Yes.
We're removing material.
Correct.
Letting the cloud appear.
Yeah. See?
That is so pretty.
Yeah. So you can do a lot with just a pencil. You don't need to be armed with lots of materials. That's the thing, students that I find in my art class, a drawing sketchbook is optional for them. They can bring it to class. They can just sketch at any time, and they really just love to draw what they see. And that's so much better than them sitting in front of an iPad the whole time.
Yes.
So good for their brain. It's a time to just relax and actually doodle, and it's very relaxing.
And I think the aspect of observation and as part of the lesson is a key part of the scientific process. I think this particular skill, fun as it is, it encourages that other aspect of observation, careful attention, analysis of objects in the real world.
Yes. And for example, what we do in art with high school is starting in 9th grade, we always start taking parts of facial features and we just learn about proportions, and then we can go in, for example, and analyze the eye, the shelf of the eye, the iris, the pupil, and to actually go and observe and see how to draw it. Because they will see the difference of the eye. It's not just a round ball. It goes flat and it's almost like a straight line. When they start to draw, they say, oh dear, I didn't realize you actually can't see the top of the eyeball. So it's through observation with all of the drawings that scientific or just beauty in itself, it's really important to observe. You can also observe going outside into nature, making sure what you see is what you're drawing.
Yeah, what do you see? How can you bring that out on the page?
Yes.
Could we do one more drawing? At least one more.
Sure.
But Galileo's moons?
Sure, we can do that.
So in the Starry Messenger, one of Galileo's most famous scientific works, he reverse engineered a telescope. So he heard about the invention of a telescope off in Holland, figured out that such a thing could be made, and so he made it himself. Just knowing that it was possible, he kind of reverse engineered it, and then spent countless hours looking through said telescope at the moon and the phases of the moon, and drew it in the Starry Messenger. So you have a series of illustrations from Galileo's pen, in addition to Galileo's just beautiful scientific writing. But maybe we can pick maybe one of the phases of the moon and draw it here. Can I borrow a piece of paper?
Of course. That's very exciting.
But maybe the half moon that's there, because it looks like there's a lot of good hatching, cross-hatching, and the like that we would need to use to bring out in our illustration.
Yes. Okay, so the moon, what's the shape?
Well,
Like you know it to be.
Perfect circle. Near perfect circle.
All right, and we talked about the first thing that we teach in art is to sort of hover around and get your wrist moving, and then you can land on the paper and draw your circle when you feel comfortable.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
I'm going to draw a small one in case we want to draw more on this paper.
Right, so you've got your circle. All right, so which one would you like to do?
Let's maybe do this one bottom right corner.
Sure. What I like about these drawings is just the contrast, which is important in art and science, is the contrast of the darkness, you know, dark and light and medium. So you said bottom right.
Yes, I like this one right here. So it's a half moon, so half of the moon is visible. As far as phases of the moon, that's normally a unit in astronomy, earth science, and so drawing the moon, practicing how to draw the moon, things to bring out in your illustration of the moon. I feel like this is a really good exercise for students and teachers.
Yes. Okay, so now we see that the division is not a straight line. So you would look, and what I teach kids to do is, why don't you just stare at that without taking your eyes off the picture and go and just feel your way. Just draw as you're seeing without taking your eye off of the actual reference photo.
And here we're just drawing, say, the line of termination where the
light,
the visible and the darkened side of the moon.
Yeah.
And not the dark side of the moon, like the side of the moon we've never seen before.
Yes. Very good.
Am I holding my pencil too harshly?
No, you're holding it correctly. And in this case, we don't need to worry about drawing too lightly because the other half, the one half, is extremely dark. So the way we're going to do the hatching on the other side is going to be much lighter than this side, which is predominantly black.
And what are the types of shading again? So hatching, and that's just straight lines, and that's what we see here mostly on both sides of the.
Correct.
Maybe he's got some cross hatching on the dark side of the moon.
Yes.
But hatching, just straight lines. Cross hatching.
Your hatching doesn't have to be straight lines,
Could
just
be
parallel. They could be diagonal.
Okay.
Next to each other. They could be horizontal next to each other. Okay, so
and with hatching, just the idea is that lots of lines in close proximity to each other.
Correct.
The closer they are, the darker it is.
Correct, and they can be of varying lengths. They don't all have to be the same length. And then your cross hatching is when they are intersecting.
Kind of like the screen on a window.
Correct. So in this case, you are going to do more of a diagonal kind of cross hatching.
So on the dark side of the moon.
And you can
do all of this, but
and you can see that the closer they are, the darker. And what we can also do is we can do some shading where the paper, because of the way that it is, it's more luminous with some of the hatching that we're going to do. You're doing a good job. Well done. Now remember, we've got to leave a little section for the moon. This little crater over here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you just draw your little, perfect.
How fine should the lines be? Like, should I try to make them kind of blurry? Will that come out when we use some of our modeling tools, or?
Well, they will come out. If you want to see some of those lines, then they need to be a little harder.
Okay.
So that you can see them. Now, what I can see in this picture, in this reference photo, is that a lot of this this hatching that you are doing, it's very good, but at the same time, they have used some of this, a form of eraser, to get some of those white lines in there. Very good.
So maybe I can start doing my cross hatching now?
You can.
Do you think that's what he did?
But over here, there isn't too much of a cross hatching.
Okay. It's just darker lines.
Yes. And I also wanted to point out that he was following this kind of shape. So he was going like you were doing your lines, diagonal, but then he was sort of coming into the shape of the circle.
Ending the lines right at the circumference.
Yes.
And it looks too like there's a little bit of a 3D effect coming out. Can I do that in my shading, or is that just, Galileo growing up in Florence, I'm sure he got expert tutelage in drawing, much better than myself growing up.
Well, now to smooth it out a little bit, you could smooth it out. And that's what your shading is supposed to do. It's supposed to try and give you a more realistic 3D kind of view. Yeah. And it's not all just going to be black, because then it's just going to be flat. So we need to have the lights and the darks.
We would use the word texture there,
This is a form of like your texturing, is the kind of lines, patterns that you've got going. Very cool.
Is there a technique to use when I'm using this tool? Remember the name of this tool again? It's just
your blending tool.
Blending tool.
Yeah. And there's a French name for it, tortillon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean in French? Tortillon?
I don't know. I guess just like a blending tool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Très bien. Are there techniques even within the blending, like circular lines?
Circular lines you would use, circular motion you would use in your clouds. Anything that needs to be soft. If it needs to be harder, then you would go more with your angled kind of straighter lines. Okay, so what you've done is great. Smooth it out. Because you see, the most important thing is also when you are drawing, you don't want to see any hard lines. So for example, if you were doing an apple, you don't want any hard lines. You want it to look as natural as possible. And I think as we're finishing this part off, I think you've done a good job. There we go. Okay, now let's put some of the white areas in. Let's go and, would you like to try and get some of those white lines that are in there?
I think it's funny. You can tell that he didn't use any blending. It was just, it doesn't seem like he used any blending, just hatching.
Yeah, it is hatching. But he's also used a pen. So pens help a lot as well to get the darkness of it.
And to clean this, you were saying you go like this.
Yes, you just work the eraser.
I bet kids have a lot of fun doing this in class.
They love it. It's like that soft little ball that they have if they just get all tired of sitting in class.
And I want to work it to a point. Should I work it to a point?
You can work it to a point, or you can work it to a flatter, something flatter.
Do I want to twist it like that, or just?
No, it's up
to
you.
Run?
Whatever makes it easier for you, that you can work it. There. Takes time to get used to it.
I don't think I've ever done this before. Maybe back in middle school and high school, when I was taking more formal studio art classes.
Yes.
But this isn't quite like riding a bike, though. I feel like I'm learning this for the very first time.
Right.
And I'm having a lot of fun, Persephone. You're really good at what you do.
It takes practice. It's like any subject that you do. Math, you need to continue practicing to get really good at something. Same with art. Same with science. Any subject, really.
The 10,000 hour rule. Have you heard that? Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. That to be an expert in something, you have to spend at least 10,000 hours in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
In one particular thing, like coding or ice hockey. Those are some of the examples that he gives when he's drawing out that principle.
That's fantastic. Okay, so I think you've done well. Would you like to go on to the other side? Now, what you can see there is mainly a lot of the white, but then you also have these lines. So how are you going to do that? Those craters and the different land kind of scape that they have there. So what you could do is you could take your pencil and very lightly outline these shapes that you see.
Okay.
And then what you'll do is you will go. Now you can see you've got your hatching lines again, which are going, some of them are longer, and then they get progressively less long, so narrower. Can you see, for example, over there?
This is the way he's showing. Although it's hard to tell if those are craters or if those are mountains. Like on a topographical map, the tighter the lines are, the higher the elevation.
The higher the elevation, that's correct.
It's a little harder to tell if perhaps, some of these areas look more like mountains even though they don't have any shading in them.
Correct. And what I like about this drawing that he did, that you have chosen, is if you look on the left-hand side where he's got this light area, you will notice the little moon little thing here is darker at the base, and that's because of the light source.
We haven't talked about the light source at all.
Yes. Okay. And then lighter at the top. So when we talk about light source, we've got to say, right, where's my light coming from? And that could be the sun, it could be a normal light that's coming into a room while you're drawing. So if something is coming in from the left-hand side, whatever light is coming in, that object, where the light hits on it, that's going to be the lightest part. And then the rest of the object will start to become darker in its shape. And then you will also have, at the bottom, you will have a cast shadow, right, at the base. That'll be your darkest part because the sun doesn't get to it or your light doesn't get to that part. So as a student in art, when I ask them, right, where's your light source? They know to tell me it's coming from the left, from the middle, or from the right. So then we can decide which part of that drawing is going to be lighter. If it's a mountain, where the light is coming in, that's where it's going to be lighter, and then your painting or your drawing is going to get darker towards the other side. And
in a drawing like this, obviously the sun is facing the side that's currently lit up on the surface of the moon.
that's correct.
We're dealing with a half moon.
Yeah.
Happy little craters.
Yes. You're doing a very good job with all your drawing.
A quick learner.
Yes.
Now, do you have any inspirational stories from the lives of famous painters? Van Gogh wasn't formally trained at all.
No,
He was going to be a priest in Holland.
Yeah. Well, I just got back from the European trip with students, some Thales students over the break. And we actually went to Van Gogh's little town that he lived in, and where
Holland,
he actually
or?
died.
Oh,
no,
okay.
in France.
Parlay? Is that
yes.
like where he did Starry Night? I love
That's
that
it.
painting.
Yes.
So.
And we saw his gravesite, that he was buried next to his brother, but just the interesting story, hearing it from the guide, that they know more of him, they've heard more stories. Just so amazing to hear how he painted, like the roots of some of the trees, the church that he painted, and the reason why he created Starry Nights with the problem with his eyes. Probably he maybe had a disorder, but also from the absinthe that they used to drink. And the Starry Night, that's exactly how he saw those stars. That's what was happening in his eyes, that he actually
a
created.
Condition that made light appear much, much brighter, much larger, like the stars in the Starry Night.
Correct.
They're not just little dots, they're really, really bright, almost
and
like
there's a lot of
clouds
movement.
starlight. Yeah,
lots
very
of
dynamic.
movement. Yeah. And that is all important for students to understand as well, that your picture has movement. Everything within art, whether it's your line, your shape, your movement, the rhythm, any one of those elements are really important, because that makes more for a cohesive kind of composition and makes it visually more appealing to the viewer. I always tell the kids, you want people to stop and look at your picture. You don't want them just to walk past it. You've got to make it interesting, and you start it off, the finish is really important. And we've had very good students whose artworks have done really well across campuses. A lot of the students have won awards and done really well, whether they've done drawings or paintings. It's remarkable. Competing even on a national level, they've done really well.
I know every year you send students to the state fairgrounds for the North Carolina State Fair.
Yes.
I don't know if you can see this in my drawing, but I'm trying to bring out a dragon.
Oh.
So.
Oh, there's the head.
Yeah, there's the head. I
Yes.
just looked down, and all of a sudden it seemed like a dragon.
That's okay. It's looking good.
No man on the moon. It's a monster on the moon.
It's what you see. That's what's important. I think that's really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
For a science teacher, I don't know if it's reasonable to have, say, like an HB2 pencil in there, but what's the bare minimum that a teacher could encourage a student to have if they wanted to, I'm going to lecture about the phases of the moon, and honestly, I just want you to as closely as you can, look at these illustrations, pick one of the moons to draw it as faithfully as you can in your drawing, try to notice the same sorts of things that Galileo did. What's like the bare minimum of things, though, that a student could use to replicate a drawing like this? If they don't have an HB pencil, this blending tool, if they don't have this, what is this called again?
Kneading eraser.
The kneading eraser, okay.
Yeah. So what they could have is, and what I do know, most of the students have mechanical pencils.
Okay. Does that work?
It can work.
Okay.
The lead pencils are also numbered. They also have the varying numbers that could do some of the shading. I've seen some of my students do some really good shading with a mechanical pencil.
Okay.
So I don't want to tell children, right, you need to make sure you have a 2B pencil. That would be ideal, but you can shade with a mechanical pencil. If you don't have a kneading eraser, not essential, you can use a regular eraser. You could use the corner of it. You'll be able to pick up and erase and create highlights very easily. If you don't have a blending tool, not a problem, use a tissue.
Okay.
Or take a earbud. You know, we have those in the art room, we have them in the science room. You can blend the same way. So they can achieve what they saw. If they look at Galileo's drawings, they can achieve the same thing. They can draw the heart in biology. They can achieve that by using just simple mechanical pencil, 2B pencil, 2HB pencil. It's fine. They can achieve a really good drawing just with basic materials.
And I think I've done that here today. So here's my drawing. I think it matches up pretty well with Galileo's drawing. Certainly not as good, but it's pretty good for a beginner.
Yes, for a beginner. You're doing very well.
Well, Persephone, thank you so much for being on Developing Classical Thinkers today. Is there anything else that we should talk about as far as bringing out the very best out of students in your art class, your science class, wherever it happens to be, where students are trying to put forward the very best work that they're capable of?
I think the most important thing for students is to remember that they just have to keep practicing.
Okay.
That's important, to persevere, just to never give up, and just to every day just draw something small. And you will get better and better every day.
All right, so keep practicing, keep persevering, don't give up, maybe throw it away, but come back and try it again.
Yes.
So,
all right.
Well, Persephone, thanks so much for being on Developing Classical Thinkers again.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for listening to this episode at home. If you're interested in the unique brand of classical education that we have here at Thales Academy, please be sure to check us out at our website at www.thalesacademy.org. And for DCT, I'm Winston Brady. Until next time, stay classy and stay classical.